Our speaker will be introduced by Derek Rogers, class of 1992. Derek is an attorney at Davis, Cedillo, and Mendoza law firm. He is a director on the San Antonio Alumni Chapter board. Derek?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure today to be here to introduce Paul McGinlay, although I'm sure most of you already know this. But today, Paul McGinlay has completed 23 seasons at the Trinity Tigers men's soccer team in Pelham, and he is one of the most successful coaches in the NCAA. Since joining the Trinity staff in 1991, Paul has led the Tigers to a number of milestone victories. One of the biggest occurred in 2003 when Trinity captured the NCAA Division III championship. It marked the first NCAA title in any division for a soccer team in the state of Texas. Last October, Paul and his 2003 players were inducted into the Trinity University Athletic Hall of Fame. Trinity has competed in the NCAA tournament for 12 straight years and 17 of the last 18 years, and has entered the postseason event as the top-ranked team in the nation on 7 occasions. Paul has an overall record of 390 wins, 66 losses, and 30 ties during his career. He entered the 2013 season as the winningest active coach in all NCAA divisions. Paul is also fifth all-time in winning percentage among NCAA soccer coaches, all-time in all divisions. The Tigers, who have been national runners-up, have made the NCAA semifinals 3 times and the quarterfinals 8 times, including 2013. Trinity has 16 Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference championships to its credit. Coach McGinlay has served as a 10-year member of the Board of Directors of the National Soccer Coaches Association of America from 1994 to 2005. He was the head of the Olympic Development Program for the South, taking future Olympic players to Spain, Costa Rica, England, Mexico, France, Argentina, and Brazil. Paul has been honored by his peers as the SCAC Coach of the Year 12 times. He has been elected to the National Soccer Coaches Association of America Regional Coach of the Year 8 times, including in the 2013 season. As a testament to his success, the renovated Trinity soccer facilities were renamed the Paul McGinlay Soccer Field in September of 2011. Paul was native of Corby, England, and he earned a bachelor's degree from the University of London. His wife, Whitney, is also a Trinity grad, and the McGinleys have a daughter, Claire, who is 11 years old, and a son, Dylan, who is now 9. And with no further ado, Coach McGinlay.
What a great opportunity this is to be able to speak uninterrupted for 30 minutes. My wife, Whitney, allows me 2 minutes, so this is going to be a little unusual to be able to present to you today. This started off 3 decades of Trinity soccer when Salim had contacted me in the fall about presenting, and just 3 weeks ago, Ron Pritz, a gentleman from the late 60s, sent me an email completely unknown that I was presenting about the origins of Trinity soccer. And he started an email with these notes. He'd been wanting to get it off his chest for a number of years about the early days of Trinity. And he visited campus a couple of weeks ago. I was fortunate to have lunch with he and his wife, also a Trinity alum. And he shared some great stories about the early years in 1965. Uniforms looked a little bit different back then. I don't know if it was the volleyball team, Julia, or the soccer team, but Ron sent this photograph, and then what I think is the first ever team shot in 65. Coming up next. Maybe not. Do I use this? Technical difficulties are normally Kelly Altman's responsibility, so There we go. There we go. So the 1965 team is right here in front of you, and I do want to recognize Bill Weaver. Bill Weaver is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th from the right, and Bill is here today with us as a member of the 1965 team. Bill, please stand and be recognized. 67. First picture 65, I think this was 67. Minor detail, minor detail. Mid-60s, late 60s. So when I started at Trinity in 1991, I inherited a group of seniors: Charlie Rodman, Ken Fruman, Mike Hilliard, Jason Libby, Chris Gaffney. They were and Evan Moser. They were 6 leaders that I inherited when I first showed up. That really set a great trend at Trinity for what I was going to try and build in the future. In 1996, Lance Key arrived on campus, and really from this point forward, we took some leaps and bounds. I was on the board of directors of the National Soccer Coaches, and we were trying to establish a vision statement and a mission statement for our organization. So I brought the same thing back to Trinity, and we sat through hours and hours, Lance, of trying to put something together, and in 1996 came with this vision for our program. Now, I know strategic planning is something that you need to do, but we had some dreams of winning the national championship. And I think the Martin Luther King speech probably would have been a little different if he said, "I have a strategic plan." But we had dreams, and it was to win the national championship in 1997. That didn't happen, but we laid the foundation for what was to come in the near future. When I arrived at Trinity, Dr. Calgard blessed my appointment in 1991, and on my contract it said head men's soccer coach / responsibilities in track and field. When I showed up to campus, Gene Norris handed me the information that I was the head men's and women's track and field coach, which is indeed responsibilities in track and field. This was a great delight to my good friend at the time, and still he'll be listening today, Nick Cowell. He thought this was the funniest thing ever, that I was the head men's and women's track and field coach too. And he laughed and he laughed. However, he then received his contract, and he was the head women's softball coach in the spring. So we had some surprises, right off the bat. The landscape was very different back then in the late 80s. We saw some significant changes in the athletic department. Division I tennis was prominent at that point in time, and Dr. Calgard and the Board of Trustees had the vision of bringing an 18-sport broad, comprehensive athletic program to campus. And we were going to fund the programs, we were going to fund the head coaches' salaries, and the 18 sports are still here today. Trinity would compete in the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference, which was formed in the early 80s, and it included schools like Center, Rhodes, University of the South, Millsaps. They were schools of similar size and philosophy, all had a strong tradition of their own. But at that point in time, Trinity was the only Division III school in the state of Texas. We had some great non-conference games against schools like Emory, Washington University, Haverford, Claremont, and Pomona, all household names in Division III. And it was a tremendous time for us. The first class that I recruited included a gentleman by the name of Josh Holland, and he went on to captain our team in his senior year in 1996. I asked Josh if he would just send something to me regarding his memories of Trinity. This is what Josh said. "The people I met at Trinity and the friendships created have lasted well beyond graduation. All 3 of my groomsmen at my wedding were friends I met at Trinity. We all travel as often as possible to see each other. The best times I had at Trinity revolve around soccer, the soccer team. The competition was excellent, and the chance to travel across the United States was unique. Boston, Atlanta, San Diego, St. Louis, Chicago, Nashville, to name just a few. Soccer was demanding, school was demanding, but it was just what I wanted. I would be remiss, and also in a doghouse, if I did not mention the most important benefit of my time at Trinity. It was where I met my future wife, Whitney. Our two children, Alex and Avery, have both said they want to go to college where Mommy and Dad went, and I couldn't think of a better choice. We've created an enormously large family since 1991. Bill Silliman was in one of those early classes, and Adele and a goalkeeper, and my wife and I had spent New Year's with them just this past Christmas. So it's we've stayed together. As we started to embark on building a program, international travel became a big part of it. Lance was on our first trip to France, and we saw 3 World Cup games. We took a travel party of 34. I don't know how we got the tickets. I don't know how we got to France. We did stay in Holland. I'm not quite sure why. The World Cup was in France, but we stayed in Holland. But we pulled it off, and at that point in time, I was really flying solo. So after France, we went to England twice and visited London and arguably, Claire, the home of football, Manchester United. And took and took 2 Trinity teams to Old Trafford to experience that. This was also not a mistake. A travel party of 44, including Jorge Gonzalez and Dr. Van Endy, spent 10 days on Copacabana, dressed appropriately, of course. And our Trinity team went to Brazil twice. Right, Yuri? We took you back to your home country. And we competed favorably at the spiritual home of football. This is us playing against Flamenco in the mountains of Vargem Grande. Did I say that right, Yuri? And Darren, our friend from Albuquerque here, exchanged pennants with the Tigres of Brazil. So it was a great contest, and again we came out on top, 4-2. The Maracanã Stadium is something that we really need to visit when we're there. The World Cup was held there in 1950 and will be held there again this coming summer. Zach Garcia, who is front and center, I think this is a fair comment, he said that his best 10 days of Trinity were on Copacabana. When we arrived this last March, we went straight off the plane, checked into the hotel, and went to the Rio Cup final to watch Vasco da Gama play against Botafogo. So it really was a tremendous experience. As we progressed through the 90s, our program was hit with a thunderbolt in 2000. It was in the fall that the program was to be dealt the most tragic of losses. Our 1998 graduate, Tim Isom, succumbed to a brain aneurysm in Chicago in mid-September and passed away at the age of 24. Edna and Harold Isom would not only lose their son, Raylan would lose a brother, Elizabeth Stuhler, a fiance, and Tim was a special person, and to this day we've recognized his achievements and do so on an annual basis. At a ceremony at the field, Reverend Judd performed something that I found to be very difficult at the time, and was with his help, our program got through it. The scattering of Tim's ashes occurred in one penalty box with his mother and his fiance in one direction, and his father and his sister in the other. So we certainly play on hallowed ground on our field that we get to participate on every day. The official retirement of the jersey occurred at a ceremony at the field later that month, Alumni Weekend, and you really had to be on the sidelines and in the locker room that day to see what happened. Platteville were coming in as an enormous challenge for us, having just beaten Wisconsin Oshkosh earlier in the season, 2-1. The result of the game was Trinity 11, Platteville 0. It was, again, you would just have to be there. So annually, we have a banquet in Tim's honor. His jersey, he was laid to rest in his away jersey. at the request of his parents, and the home jersey comes with us wherever we go. And whenever we do anything in public, the Isom jersey is always there as a mark of respect. Tim was very much about bringing people together. So in his absence, we have been doing that on an annual basis. And our top award at Trinity is given in his honor. In the room today, Jeff Hayes, our most recent recipient of the Tito Award, is in the back. Edward Carty, our current assistant coach, and C.H. Farmer, also on our coaching staff, are previous Tito recipients. We retired the number 3 jersey after the game, but recognize him annually. I have the great fortune of having a staff of coaches over the years that have really made my life easy. This is not a one-man band. It used to be, but it's not anymore. And Kelly has just arrived in from Valparaiso to share in this moment. Chris Garcia-Prats, I'll get to in a second, and Edward and C.H. Are with us here today, and I can't thank them enough for everything they do for our program. Chris Garcia-Prats took it a little too far, though. He came this year with his Luther College team and proceeded to beat his alma mater 2-0. It was something that was an emotional moment for him and for me, because he knows how important wins are to Trinity, and he was 10 years with us. 4 years as a player, 6 years as an assistant. So it was a highly emotional embrace at the end of the game. Chris was crying out of emotion. I was crying because of the defeat, but there was tears. When we embarked on our vision for the program, we set about getting to the Final 8 in 1999 for the first time. So it took 8 years to get to the 8, and Lance, you can recall that day pretty well, right? It was Lance's last game for us at Trinity, and as I said, his arrival really sparked our movement forward as a program. Lance was a 3-time All-American, drafted into Major League Soccer, but you want to know how much our student athletes care about performing? Lance laid on the field, could not be disturbed for a full 3 hours following the game, and I thought to myself, you know, this player really cares. This player really cares. So we had some tragic moments in 2002. That is snow. The NCAA thought it was a good idea to put the game on the Canadian border when it was the last week in November, and it was 68 degrees here in San Antonio, and we were going into the game with a record of 22-0. So we felt strongly that it probably should have been played here. The NCAA thought otherwise. Look at Eddie Ho's face. He's sitting here. We lost in the national semifinals, and much of the team was to return again in 2003. And so I said to the boys, you know, we've been here once. We're coming back, and next year we're going to win it. And Eddie Ho's face there. He's one of our greatest ever players. Greatest ever human beings, and so thrilled to call him one of our players. But 12 months later, quite a very different Eddie Ho, right? You see him here on this side here, celebrating our first and only national championship in 2003. Kelly, we went down to Times Square following, right? After the event, the charter bus took us down to Times Square. And Kelly, I'll have to disclose this now, actually. Kelly had the national championship trophy in the Houston airport. There was a layover for 5 hours, and Kelly would just walk around the whole airport with the trophy. And he said this more than once: "Have you kissed the national champion today?" So our team achievements, national runners-up in 2007. I wanted to do anything but coach around 4:45 on the day where Middlebury beat us on penalties. I think we maybe had one of the best soccer teams ever to be assembled at Trinity. In 2007, we beat Messiah, our nemesis, in the semifinal, and went on to lose nil on penalty kicks. And Robbie Cederbacher and Ben Stewart, the two players that missed, it can never leave them. And I feel sorry for them. But we were champions that year. We just weren't crowned. It was a terrific team. 3 semifinals, 8 quarterfinals. Yuri played his last game along with Darren and Jeff this year in Dubuque, Iowa. I think that's what it's called. And we lost 2-1 to Loras College in minus 15 degrees, which was unfortunate. We start the season every year 105 degrees, and we end it minus 15. Just about every year. We had 49 All-American selections over the last few years, which is statistically doesn't make sense. For the last 18 years, we've had at least one and at a maximum of 4, and there's only 33 players selected nationally. And we have Victor and Yuri, our 2 Brazilians, at the back table there, and so we appreciate their efforts. We also have academic All-Americans, right? Yuri didn't make academic All-American, but he did make All-American. Darren McAfee, on the other hand, picked up the academic All-American award for his duties on the field and in the classroom. Ben Anderson, also from Brophy Prep in Phoenix, Arizona, was an academic All-American this year also. We had a National Player of the Year in 2003 in Josh Smith. Again, the statistics are staggering. 185 All-SCAC selections. I feel bad for some of the teams that come into players, because I've said this in the locker room many times. This team is coming in expecting to lose. Let's not disappoint them. This year, bringing us up to the present tense, another great streak. 19 games in the middle of the season. Once Chris Garcia-Prats handed us our first loss, we scored 88 goals for and conceded 2, and went on to the quarterfinals. The composition of the squad has also changed since 1991. It was essentially Texas and the Southwest, and now 9 countries and 9 states make up our roster, from as far away as Brazil, Honduras, Mexico, England, Scotland, Sweden, Australia. Yeah. Dr. Olberg is in the house. Yeah. Australia. And Todd, why don't you stand up, because Todd is one of our players from Australia, and as a goalkeeper, I like my goalkeepers to look like this. Right? Okay, and so since 1991, we've won a few games. So I don't know who the 9th team we play on our schedule is next year, but I do look forward to 400 victories here at Trinity. All right, the future. In Division III in 1991, I stated earlier that we were the only Division III school. And Dr. Calgard and the Board of Trustees' vision to have us go participate against like institutions was visionary, and we had so much success during the 90s and early 2000s. I know there are different ways to measure institutions, but these are the 15 institutions that belong to Division III in Texas. And we compete against most of them, some of them in league play, some of them in non-conference games, but they're all schools that participate in Division III. So it's a huge change in the landscape from 1991 to 2013. And I know there's different ways to measure schools, but I just pulled off the endowment figures from the institutions, and all 15 put together turns out to be $1.16 billion. Just food for thought, not much else, just some food for thought. Elon University was the last Division III non-scholarship program to venture into the world of Division I. And here is where my job becomes in a precarious position, because I'm sharing some thoughts here, and the disclaimer is it's just food for thought. It's just food for thought. So Elon asked themselves the question, what do you think motivated the change from Division III athletics to go to Division I? What was the environment on campus prior to the change? Why do you think this was or was not the best strategy for your school at the time? Now, I'm not suggesting that this is the strategy for us. I'm just throwing out some food for thought based on the company that we're in right now. So the study at Elon revealed major themes that suggested administrators were unsatisfied with the current institutional profile and hoped that reclassification would change constituents' perceptions of the institution. The move to Division I was beyond athletic desires, but rather an effort to improve overall institutional profile. When we're playing against some of the teams in Texas in Division III, oftentimes we're likened to them, and sometimes I don't think that's that's accurate. So the reposition of Elon College to now Elon University was based on the fact Elon's personal attention to his students, an attractive, warm climate environment. They had two big conurbations close by, the Research Triangle and the Piedmont Triad. And I think we have Houston and Dallas that might bring some similarities to, to our location. And for the most part, it's also a warm weather existence. So in the 90s, the theme of distinction and uniqueness became fundamental to virtually every decision that the school made. And the membership in Division I was part of that, and the philosophy was that people judge you based on the company you keep. Study at Elon revealed that the administrators believed that the exposure received from athletics would bring positive recognition to campus. Administrators at Elon felt that a good Division I program would bring attention and national exposure provided to other private schools. Elon used examples of Richmond, Furman, Wofford, and Davidson of schools that they wanted to be like. So this is the last Division III team to reclassify, or program to reclassify to Division I. So what does that mean for us? It might not mean anything, but I know Jeremy, as the head of the football program, is faced with the prospect in the coming years with home and away against Southwestern, home and away against Austin College, home and away against Texas Lutheran. And I think isn't the homecoming game going to be against a squad from Aramark? Is that what's happening? Okay, so they're struggling to get games. All right, so maybe we look in a different direction. Just food for thought. So the schools that in some way may be considered comparable to Trinity, to our east and to our north and to our west, are right in front of us. And I know the admissions office can speak to the academic profile of the schools, but this list looks a lot like Trinity than the former list of the 15 schools in Division III in Texas. So it's a huge landscape shift, but what about the 600-pound gorilla in football? We are in Texas, and a solid football program is important. The Pioneer League includes these schools from across the country, and San Diego's stuck out there on their own. But all these schools do not offer athletic aid for their football players. They're non-scholarship Division I, and then we may have some closer similarities to some of those schools than we do with some of our Texas friends. How would we do this? We'd have to do it the way that we always do it. There's no academic compromise. Recruiting to this institution has been a thrill for the last 23 years. We bring in outstanding student athletes to compete regionally and nationally, and it's a thrill to see them come in at 18 years old, Yuri and Darren and Jeff, and see them walk out of here 4 years later completely transformed. I've got so much faith, I've got so much belief, I've got so much love for this institution. Not only has it given me gainful employment and a great reason to to wake up every day, it also provided me with a wife. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that also. I think we are in a hugely unique situation at Trinity, and it's always been regarded as a unique school, but never are our academics compromised with the success of our student athletes, and that will never change given any circumstances. In closing, I have one slide remaining, and as Whitney knows, this has maybe been revised 7 or 8 times in the last 4 or 5 days. But I came down to something that I really believe in, because it's what I share with my players every day, and it's this. I don't want you to be anyone else. I want you to be the best original of yourself. And maybe this speaks to our institution also, that we constantly strive to be the best original of ourselves. I found it with the student athletes that I've recruited, the staff that I work with, the presidents that I work under, our administrators led by Bob King. We couldn't possibly be in a better situation, at a better school, at a better time. And if there's any doubt about that, you just need to walk out to the left and take a look at our newest creation in the Center for Sciences and Innovation. It's just it's a fabulous structure set aside for academics. To keep it all in perspective, I was thrilled at our $1.5 million renovation of our soccer field and having Tim Isom's name permanently displayed there. But you can see the difference between athletics and academics. We spend $1 million on a soccer field, but we spend $100 and a lot of million on our academic facilities. And as the Dallas Morning News said many years ago, Trinity has athletics and academics in perfect harmony. I don't see it continuing, no matter the division, because we're still going to appeal to above average students and individuals. So, in closing, I don't want us to be anyone else. I thought about this hard. Do we want to be San Diego? Do we want to be Santa Clara? Do we want to be Rice? No, we don't want to be any of those, because we're not in Houston. We're not on the West Coast. We're in San Antonio, Texas, and I think the goal of the university will always be to be the best original of itself. My legal counsel said to take no questions, and that any concerns that you may have will be directed to my athletic director, who's right over here, bob.king@trinity.edu, 865-1680, and he lives in the neighborhood. Thank you. One thing, in addition, am I okay with time? Yes, yeah. The number 10 jersey is something that everyone seeks out as a soccer player. Maradona wore it, Pele wore it. It's reserved for the impact player on every team. Darren, you are our current number 10, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to graduate this year in degree in engineering as the state player of the year in New Mexico. So you were a big catch for us, and you delivered both academically and athletically. What does the number 10 mean to you, Darren? And you can stand up and share that if you like.
Well, to me, the number 10 is the focal point of the team. He is trusted to make things happen. He has vision and the ability to make those visions come true. He is a leader, a collaborator, and an expert. Above all, he is the one who makes things work.
Thank you, Brent. I did not want to pass up the opportunity, particularly in this season of merit raises, to share something with two of our playmakers. I have a shirt here that has a recognizable name on it. Edward has a shirt also, and we would like to present the number 10 jersey to our playmakers, Dr. Kalgaard, Dr. Olberg. We'll get it home for you. Questions, comments, donations? Yeah, letters of intent, commitments. Yes, sir.
Describe the challenges of recruiting to Trinity and being in Division III.
Well, we certainly do have challenges. We're an institution that's approaching a $50,000 price tag, and we have no academic compromise with the kind of student athletes we go after. However, in some ways we're fortunate because of who we are and what we have. Our merit-based packages are competitive with institutions across the country, and I've often said this in recruiting, in comparing Trinity to some other schools where the students have been accepted, that, you know, JFK was asked to run for the Vice President of the United States in the early 60s. He said, why run for second when first is available? So when students have got the opportunity to come to Trinity and have some alternate choices, I have no shame in talking about the benefits of our academic program, our residential program, and our soccer program. So the challenges are out there, but we've been able to stay ahead of the curve, really based on the support of our institution.
I've got a couple of tweeted questions here.
I'm not taking any from Nick Cowell.
The handles are hard for me to tell, so I'm sure it's not anybody you're worried about. How has the growth of soccer in the U.S. contributed to the growth of the soccer program at Trinity?
I think it's run fairly parallel. In the early 90s, our players were coming from cities where soccer was not really it wasn't a hotbed. Hammond, Louisiana, for example. The Joe and Hugh Dashbar came from Hammond, Louisiana, not normally known for its soccer prowess. And we've been appealing now to major cities in the United States, particularly in the Southwest, and then obviously international. So I think the growth of our university, the growth of the game, and the growth of our program has obvious parallels. And
Thank you. And the other question I received was, do you think San Antonio can support a Major League Soccer franchise?
they can. They can. They have the San Antonio Scorpions, with Gordon Hartman's huge leap of faith in building a facility for soccer in this country, in this town. I don't have any hesitation that not only will the Scorpions survive, but their intentions are trying to move into Major League Soccer and bring bring the big franchise to town. And I think our town can support it. There was talk of it supporting two. I would have thought that would be impossible, but one team is certainly within our grasp.
Coach, why is it that if you look back through 25 years of players and alumni who come here, the one common theme continually is, of all the great experiences we had at this university, soccer is the most valued experience those individuals experience?
Well, you'd be the right person to talk to about that. Mike Hilliard graduated in 1992, a few tours of duty to Afghanistan and Iraq, setting up medical tents, and is in emergency room trauma here at Wilford Hall. So Mike would know about the benefits of being on a team, and the spirit that you can only know about if you are a team member. And I think with soccer in particular, I'm sure it's true of the other sports, but the words that's synonymous with it is passion. And the players that we've attracted to our program and that have graduated from our program really have a strong affinity with the school and with the program. And I really don't see that. Changing. And thanks for being here, Mike. I know you had to change things around to be here. Mike was our first captain that I inherited in 1991, and as with just about all of our players, they just turn into good friends upon graduation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.